Mr. Bradley?
Aye.
Ms. Quetch?
Aye.
Mr. Webb?
Aye.
Ms. Patterson?
Aye.
And Mr. Craig.
Aye.
At this time, I declare the floor open for nominations for the position of Vice Mayor.
I'd like to make a motion to nominate Cindy as Ms. Patterson as the vice mayor.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'll second that.
Thank you.
Any additional nominations? Hearing none, I will call roll. Mr. Bradley?
Aye.
Ms. Quetch?
Aye.
Mr. Webb?
Aye.
Ms. Patterson?
Aye.
And Mr. Craig.
Aye.
At this time, I declare the mayor, Mr. Craig, to take over the meeting.
Thank you very much, council. I'm honored that you have placed this confidence in me, and I promise to serve the public, the town council, and the staff as best I can.
Mr. Craig, no one can hear you, please.
I'm sorry. I'll start all over again. Council members, I'm honored that you've placed me in this position, and I promise that I'll serve the public, your interests, and the staff of Abingdon as best I can in the next couple of years. Thank you very much. The first item on the agenda is adoption of the revised Code of Ethics. I want to say a few words about that. Can you all hear me? I have to bend over so far up here.
I don't think, are we on, can you hear me?
Is my mic on?
Should we say, can we hear, can you hear me now?
Can you hear me now? That's a good start, isn't it?
Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. All I had to do was pull it up, but I didn't know that.
I think they did some.
Well, I'm not going to repeat what I said again, but anyway. The first item on the agenda is the adoption of the revised Code of Ethics, and I want to say a few words before we adopt the Code of Ethics, since that's what we choose to do. When I came on council, we had an orientation period, and during that period, I was just simply handed a Code of Ethics and advised to read it and return it if I agreed with it, and if I didn't, it was optional whether I signed it or not. It's not something legal, and I went ahead and adopted it. I understand other members may not have adopted it. I don't know who adopted it, who did, or who signed it, or who didn't. But anyway, I want to say to you that Tony Sullivan thinks the Code of Ethics is a very important thing for the town council members to all agree on and all abide by. And it should be a document that we've all discussed among ourselves, and we have done that. He gave us a draft. All town council members looked it over, read it, made comments, and I want to say that Donna was a leader in resolving any issues that we had, and I want you to know that if this was a team building experience for us, and I want you all to know that we got along very well, no disagreements, we respected each other's opinions, and we have it before us now. So, Don, I'm going to ask you if you would read the Code of Ethics, please. It should be on the screen. Can we get it on the screen for the public to see?
Well, I'm going to read it from here, but you can put
Okay,
it on the
all
screen. All right. Recognizing that those who hold public office have been given a public trust, and that the stewardship of such office demands the highest levels of ethical and moral conduct. Any person serving in an elected or appointed office in the town of Abingdon shall adhere to the following Code of Ethics. Uphold the Constitution, laws, and regulations of the United States and of all governments therein, and never knowingly be a party to their evasion. Place loyalty to the highest moral principles and to the people of the town of Abingdon as a whole, above loyalty to individuals, districts, or particular groups. expose through appropriate means and channels corruption or neglect of duty when discovered, give a full measure of effort and service to the positions of trust for which stewardship is granted, giving earnest effort and best thought to the performance of duties. Seek to find and use the most equitable, efficient, effective, and economical means for getting tasks accomplished. Adopt policies and programs that are in accordance with the town's EEO policy and that support the rights and recognize the needs of all citizens, regardless of race, age, religion, creed, country of origin, or handicapping conditions. Ensure the integrity of the actions of the mayor and town council by avoiding discrimination through the dispensing of special favors or unfair privileges to anyone, whether for remuneration or not. A member should never accept for himself or herself or for family members favors or benefits under circumstances which would be construed by reasonable persons as influencing the performance of government duties. Make no private promises of any kind binding upon the duties of any office, because a public servant has no private word which can be binding on public duty. Avoid a conflict of interest. A member should recuse himself or herself from participating in deliberations or voting on issues which render personal gain for himself or herself or for family members. Engage in no business with the town of Abingdon government, neither directly or indirectly, which is inconsistent with the State and Local Government Conflict of Interest Act or the Public Procurement Act. Never use any information gained confidentially in the performance of governmental duties as a means of making private profit. Adhere to the principle that the public's business should be conducted in the public view by observing and following the letter and spirit of the Freedom of Information Act. Recognize that interaction with the media is a vital link in maintaining good communication with the public. Town council comments to the media should be in a courteous, statesmanlike manner and should maintain the priority of the council when speaking to public issues or to opinions of colleagues and individuals. However, if any member uses unfair and or unethical means, it shall be the duty of other council members to expose and censor the members who do so. Make sure when responding to the media that a clear distinction is made between personal opinion or belief and a decision made by the mayor or town council. No member may disclose or use confidential information without appropriate authorization. Confidential information includes discussions during executive or closed sessions and certain economic development information. Review each of these principles orally and in public session at the biannual organizational meeting. Pledge to honor and uphold these principles, ever conscious that public office is a public trust. It is the duty of each council member to ensure the code of ethics is fulfilled. If violation of any is noted, a council member should first discuss the matter privately with the other council member, and if no resolution is found, then brought before the council as a whole for discussion. Acknowledged and accepted the second day of July 2018.
Thank you very much, Donna. I appreciate you reading that, and I appreciate all the work that you've done on this matter. Also to you, Tony. The Code of Ethics is now before the Town Council. Do I hear a motion?
Yes, Mayor Craig, I would like to make a motion to adopt this new Code of Ethics as presented to the Town Council this morning by Ms. Quetch.
Do I hear a second?
I second.
Is there any discussion on this matter?
I'd just like to say that I embrace the new Code of Ethics because it supports transparent and open government. It is a much better Code of Ethics, and I totally enthusiastically endorse it.
Is there any discussion? Hearing no discussion, Kim, would you please call the roll?
Absolutely. Mr. Bradley?
Aye.
Ms. Quetch?
Aye.
Mr. Webb?
Aye.
Ms. Patterson?
Aye.
And Mayor Craig.
Aye. Next item on the agenda is appointment of town manager. Do I hear any nomination?
I nominate the interim town manager, Tony Sullivan, as our interim town manager.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Is there any discussion? Hearing no discussion, Kim, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Bradley?
Aye.
Ms. Quetch?
Aye.
Mr. Webb?
Aye.
Ms. Patterson?
Aye.
And Mayor Craig.
Aye. Next item on the agenda is appointment of town treasurer. Do I hear any nominations?
I'd like to nominate Chuck Banner, please, for the appointment of town treasurer.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Any discussion on appointment of town treasurer? Hearing no discussion, Kim, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Bradley?
Aye.
Ms. Quetch?
Aye.
Mr. Webb?
Aye.
Ms. Patterson?
Aye.
And Mayor Craig.
Aye. Next item on the agenda is appointment of town clerk. Do I hear any nominations?
I'd like to make a motion that we elect Kim Kingsley.
I'll second that.
The motion has been made and seconded to appoint Kim Kingsley as town clerk. Is there any discussion? Hearing no discussion, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Bradley?
Aye.
Ms. Quetch?
Aye.
Mr. Webb?
Aye.
Ms. Patterson?
Aye.
And Mayor Craig.
Aye. Next item on the agenda is appointment of town attorney. Do I hear any nominations?
I'd like to make a nomination, motion to nominate Deborah Eisenhower as town attorney.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, Kim, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Bradley?
Aye.
Ms. Quetch?
Aye.
Mr. Webb?
Aye.
Ms. Patterson?
Aye.
And Mayor Craig.
Aye. I'd like to speak to the appointment of the town attorney. You all probably know that Deb Eisenhower is on medical leave, and at this time, I don't guess anybody knows at what point she'll be able to return. She's had some pretty serious surgery, and I'd like to let you know that in her absence, the town has retained Penn Stewart to fill in, so we do have legal advice available to us anytime we need it. The next item on the agenda is appointment of officers for the fire department. Do I hear any nominations?
I'd like to nominate John McCormick as fire chief and C.J. McLaughlin as assistant fire chief.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, Kim, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Bradley?
Aye.
Ms. Quetch?
Aye.
Mr. Webb?
Aye.
Ms. Patterson?
Aye.
And Mayor Craig.
Aye. The next item on the agenda is consideration of council appointee salaries. Do I hear a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to adopt the appointee salaries. I guess, as we discussed before, the interim town manager will receive a per pay period increase of $645.46. The director of finance treasurer will get an annual pay increase of $7,500. The fire chief will get an annual pay increase of $5,000.
Would your motion be per pay period for the town manager?
Yes, it's per pay period, per pay
Okay.
period for the town manager,
Okay,
yes,
do
sir.
I hear a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Should we make note that there's been some employees that's not had a raise for quite some time, and that's why we felt the need to do so, and also extra duties on Mr. Sullivan's side. He's doing extra duties himself.
That's, as a means of explaining, further clarifying what Cindy has said, council appointees are right now in a different category from other employees, so they don't get cost of living increases as the other town employees get. And for some period of time now, these people, the council appointees, haven't had a salary increase. So that's why this is being done. We have a motion and a second. Kim, I forgot.
Yes.
Okay. Is there any discussion? Hearing no discussion, Kim, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Bradley?
Aye.
Ms. Quetch?
Aye.
Mr. Webb?
Aye.
Ms. Patterson?
Aye.
And Mayor Craig?
Aye. The next item on the agenda is appointment of one member of council to the following boards, commissions, and committees. Abingdon Planning Commission. Do I hear a nomination?
I nominate Mr. Bradley.
I second that.
Are there any other nominations? We have Mr. Al Bradley nominated to serve on the Planning Commission as a council member. Is there any discussion? Hearing no discussion, Kim, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Bradley?
Aye.
Ms. Quetch?
Aye.
Mr. Webb?
Aye.
Ms. Patterson?
Aye.
And Mayor Craig?
Aye. The next appointment to be made is a council member to serve on the Historic Preservation Review Board. Currently, that's Ms. Patterson. I understand that Ms. Patterson doesn't want to serve any longer. She's already served for 2 years. So do I hear a nomination for council member to serve on the Historic Preservation Review Board?
I'd nominate Derek Webb for that position.
Do I hear a second?
I second that.
Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, Kim, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Bradley?
Aye.
Ms. Quetch?
Aye.
Mr. Webb?
Aye.
Ms. Patterson?
Aye.
And Mayor Craig?
Aye. The next appointment to be made is a council member to serve on the Tree Commission. Ms. Patterson is currently the council member serving on the Tree Commission, and understands that she's willing to continue to serve and she's nominated. Do I hear any nominations?
I'd like to nominate Ms. Patterson to remain on the Tree Commission.
Is there a second?
Second?
Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, Kim, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Bradley?
Aye.
Ms. Quetch?
Aye.
Mr. Webb?
Aye.
Ms. Patterson?
Aye.
And Mayor Craig?
Aye. The next appointment to be made by the council is a council member to serve on the Sinking Springs Cemetery Committee. Do I hear any nominations?
I'd like to nominate Al Bradley for the Sinking Spring Cemetery Committee.
I'll second that.
Motion's been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing no discussion, Kim, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Bradley?
Aye.
Ms. Quetch?
Aye.
Mr. Webb?
Aye.
Ms. Patterson?
Aye.
And Mayor Craig?
Aye. The next appointment to be made is to the Mount Rogers Planning District Commission. Do I hear any nominations?
I'd like to nominate Donna Quetch for the Mount Rogers Planning District Commission.
I second that.
Motion's been made and seconded to nominate Donna Quench to serve on the Mount Rogers Planning District Commission. Is there any discussion? Hearing no discussion, Kim, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Bradley?
Aye.
Ms. Quetch?
Aye.
Mr. Webb?
Aye.
Ms. Patterson?
Aye.
And Mayor Craig?
Aye. The next the next appointment to be made is a council member to serve on the District 3 Governmental Cooperative. Do I hear any nominations?
I nominate Mr. Craig.
Is there a second?
Craig.
I'll second that.
Is there any discussion? Hearing no discussion, Kim, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Bradley?
Aye.
Ms. Quetch?
Aye.
Mr. Webb?
Aye.
Ms. Patterson?
Aye.
And Mayor Craig?
Aye. The next appointment to be made is a council member to serve on the Tourism Advisory Commission. Do I hear any nominations?
I make a motion that we nominate Cindy Patterson.
I'll second that.
The motion has been made and seconded to appoint Cindy Patterson to the Tourism Advisory Commission. Is there any discussion? Hearing no discussion, Kim, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Bradley?
Aye.
Ms. Quetch?
Aye.
Mr. Webb?
Aye.
Ms. Patterson?
Aye.
And Mayor Craig?
Aye. The next appointment to be made is a council member to serve on the Metro Planning Organization. Do I hear any nominations?
I'd like to nominate Mr. Bradley for that position, please.
I'll second.
Motion has been made and seconded to appoint Mr. Bradley to the Metro Planning Organization. Is there any discussion? Hearing no discussion, Kim, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Bradley?
Aye.
Ms. Quetch?
Aye.
Mr. Webb?
Aye.
Ms. Patterson?
Aye.
And Mayor Craig?
Aye. The next appointment to be made is a council member to serve on the Veterans Memorial Park Board. Do I hear any nominations?
I'd like to nominate Mr. Bradley to serve on that board as well.
I'll second that.
Motion has been made and seconded to appoint Mr. Bradley to the Veterans Memorial Park Board. Is there any discussion?
Mayor Craig, I would like to say that I'm going to continue my service on the Veterans Memorial Park as well. I served 2 years on that park.
Well,
I'm representing the Tree Commission on that, so I'll stand.
I know you served well, so we're going to leave you on there. So,
Okay, good. Just want to make sure.
okay, all right.
I don't want to go anywhere.
We don't have anybody else anyway.
Okay. That makes me feel special.
We're going to have fun, guys. Is there any discussion on this matter? Hearing no discussion, Kim, please call the roll.
Mr. Bradley?
Aye.
Ms. Quetch?
Aye.
Mr. Webb?
Aye.
Ms. Patterson?
Aye.
And Mayor Craig?
Aye. The next nomination to be made is a council member to serve on the Recreation Advisory Commission. Do I hear any nominations?
I'd like to recommend Mr. Derek Webb for that position.
I'll second that.
Motion has been made and seconded to appoint Derek Webb to the Recreation, I'm not going to call you mister, you're too young, to serve on the Recreation Advisory Commission. Is there any discussion? Hearing no discussion, Kim, would you please call a roll?
Mr. Bradley?
Aye.
Ms. Quetch?
Aye.
Mr. Webb?
Aye.
Ms. Patterson?
Aye.
And Mayor Craig?
Aye. The next nomination to be made is a council member to serve on the Bristol, Virginia Utilities Board. Do I hear any nominations?
I'd like to nominate Wayne Craig for that appointment.
I'll
I think
second
that's-
that.
I think that's a lifetime appointment, isn't it? Just seems like it was.
I think I've died and gone to Hades.
Oh, my goodness.
I'll second that.
No, I did second it
Oh,
already.
okay.
Yeah, it's okay. I was
We're
quite-
carrying on too much.
I'm sorry.
You got a second,
Is there any is there any discussion on it? Okay, Kim, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Bradley?
Aye.
Ms. Quetch?
Aye.
Mr. Webb?
Aye.
Ms. Patterson?
Aye.
And Mayor Craig?
Aye. The next appointment to be made is a council member to serve on the Muster Ground Steering Committee.
I would- Yeah, go ahead,
Do
please.
do I hear any nominations?
Yes, sir. I'd like to nominate Ms. Donna Quetch for that position.
I'll second that.
Motion has been made and seconded to appoint Donna Quitch as the council appointee on the Muster Ground Steering Committee. Is there any discussion? Hearing no discussion, Kim, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Bradley?
Aye.
Ms. Quetch?
Aye.
Mr. Webb?
Aye.
Ms. Patterson?
Aye.
And Mayor Craig?
Aye. If we've made enough appointments, have we made enough appointments?
That's it,
Seems
sir.
like we have. I'd like to adjourn the what is it called? Organizational agenda, and move to the regular agenda. And I'd like to welcome the public to the regular agenda. Thank you all for coming out and showing interest in your government. I can't believe we have this many people here with during working hours, but it's a great thing to see that. The first item on the agenda of the regular meeting is approval of minutes. July 4th, 2018, regular meeting. Are there any corrections to the minutes?
Just the June 4th, June 4th.
What?
June 4th.
Yeah, it is June, yeah. June 4th, regular meeting. Do I hear any corrections? Do I hear a motion that we approve the June 4th, 2018 minutes for the regular council meeting?
So moved.
I'll second that motion. Is there any discussion? Kim, please call the roll.
Mr. Bradley,
Abstain?
Ms. Quetch,
Abstain?
Mr. Webb,
Abstain.
Ms. Patterson,
Yay.
and Mayor Craig.
Yes.
Mayor Craig, I will need the members to state a reason, please, for the abstaining. And I know it's very
Would
obvious,
you-
but for the record.
Would you state the
Al,
reason?
starting with you, would you state a reason
I,
why?
for one, was not present or a member at the time of the meeting.
Same here, not present.
And I think I was here, but I wasn't on council, so I have to abstain.
Thank you.
Okay, do we have Mr. Ward in the audience?
No, sir. I would ask that you leave that sort of as a floating item until Mr. Ward arrives. And if I'll let you know when he comes in. There's your
Okay.
public comment sheet.
For the public's benefit, we have an attorney on his way apparently to the meeting, and we need to have a closed session with him. So we'll, if it's with the council's permission, we'll rearrange that and take it up a little bit later. Okay. At this time, council will hear public comments from those citizens registered to speak. Please come forth to the podium as I call your name. When you come to the podium, restate your name, state your mailing address, and identify any organization you represent. Each speaker will have 3 minutes for comments. Each speaker will be timed by the clerk and will be given a warning when 1 minute of speaking time remains. Speakers are reminded that neither council members nor staff will address questions or otherwise engage with speakers during public comment period. The first speaker is Mr. Steve Smith and / Stephen Spangler.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Congratulations to the new council. We look forward to working with you all. Steve Smith, 19042 Lake Road, Abington, Virginia.
Stephen Spangler, 38 Compton, Bristol, Tennessee.
If it pleases the mayor, we'll work together and maybe in lieu of time. Just like to give a little update on the Meadows project. The Meadows project continues to move forward. The rain has not been our friend, but we did get a good weekend of work in. Hopefully we'll get a good weekend this week. We do have plans to break ground with actual construction of supermarkets and out parcels sometimes towards the last part of August, weather permitting, and we'll keep our fingers crossed from that. We continue to make good progress with that. One thing that I want to speak on today is the Cook Street extension. That road obviously is imperative to both the retail project and to the recreation project. I know it's been well into the planning stage, is certified, planned. It's VDOT approved, and again, while we've had discussions with the town on alternative routes, I just want to go on the record and saying we would still favor the road as approved. Now, again, our traffic engineers feel it's more than adequate to handle the traffic. VDOT has reviewed it and approved it, and again, I think this would expedite the project. Now, on the off chance that you all discuss it today, I don't see it on the agenda, but if you discuss it today, Mr. Spangler has submitted some alternative plans that I think are acceptable to our company and to the rest of the retail entities that will be residing there. Again, that will cost the town extra dollars. It will cost extra delay as well. So I'll say thank you, and I'll let Stephen finish the comments.
And I'll just reiterate kind of what Steve said, that it's our opinion, and we met with every member here on the council a few weeks ago to discuss this very issue. We had the town's traffic engineer, we had our engineers in attendance as well as town staff. It was a constructive conversation, I felt. We listened. I do want to reiterate to Steve's point is that we still feel that the roundabout is acceptable. It moved the traffic. It adds a unique aspect to the project. But if the council deems it necessary that it needs to change that design, that it consider the alternative that we provided to the town's engineer, we feel it meets every aspect of concern that Mr. Craig led with the two lanes coming from Cook Street, free flow in and out, stop control coming from Green Springs Road, and the Washington Crossing project, if that ever comes forward. And it also stays within constraints of the right-of-way that's currently held by the town. We just ask that if there is a change to, just because we're well underway with our project, out parcels have been sold, they want to get started on their projects, that the town work in an expeditious manner to get this road redesigned, re-engineered, and continue on the same path of construction.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I know I'm not supposed to say this, but I think I speak for the entire council that we look forward to working. Can you speak up? I'm sorry, I said, I think I speak for the entire council that we look forward to working with you, and we'll certainly consider your comments.
We're hoping that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
The next speaker is Joe Levine.
Hello, Joe Levine, 340 and 350 Green Spring Road, and I'm here today speaking as the president of the Friends of Abington. I sent a letter to all of the members of town council, but I'd like to reiterate, and for the people that are in the audience and have not heard the letter or seen the letter, and other members of the staff, Friends of Abington congratulates Al Bradley, Donna Quetch, and Derek Webb on their election to Abington Town Council. We are delighted that all 5 members of the 2018-20 Abington Town Council have committed to run an open and transparent government in Abington. FOA endorses Town Council's commitment to these virtues, which are consistent with our values. The purpose of this letter is to confirm to each of you that Friends of Abington will support your efforts to restore open, transparent government and trust in Abington. It is further to confirm our commitment to work with Town Council and the new town manager in support of projects that are compatible with our values. The 4 core values stated in the Friends of Abington vision statement are to encourage open participatory government in Abington, to help citizens remain informed about and involved in their local government, to support the policies and projects that are compatible with the town's comprehensive plan, and to preserve and enhance the natural environment, historical landscape, culture, and overall well-being of Abington. Friends of Abington encourages all Abington citizens to attend town council meetings, and we have a good start today, and work sessions, and to actively participate on boards, commissions, committees, and in support of open government. And then to further, I think the new ethics policy that you enacted today was a very good start. I mean, that policy, compared to the one that was there in the past, does a good job of encouraging open government, and good luck.
Thank you very much, Joe. The next speaker is Joe Puckett.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Joseph Puckett, 20993 Cheyenne Trail, Abington, Virginia. and I represent Sunset Digital Communications. And I wanted to come introduce myself. Mr. Craig and I have gotten to know each other well, and I hope and that's been a positive experience. But there's Chief Sullivan and I apologize, I can't get out of the habit of addressing him as Chief Sullivan, but has been very helpful to me and to Sunset in this closing process. There is a very specific issue that relates to the town of Abingdon that he and I are working on, that he'll have detailed information for you all. And I've actually gotten him some over the weekend that he'll share with you, and we can deal with that at a later date. But it's specifically related to what we call the Abingdon Pop site. That's located there at Latcher Field. And that was a situation where two public entities, Bristol Virginia Utilities and the town of Abingdon, had just a verbal agreement to locate electronics and a building there owned by BVU. Obviously, that's going to be changing. As the mayor applauded on Friday, it was announced July 27th, which may end that potential lifetime term that Mr. Bradley alluded to earlier, which I think we're all very happy with. We like to formalize that into a lease agreement if it pleases the council. And again, I've sent some details as a proposal to Chief Sullivan that he'll share with you all at a more appropriate time. We couldn't get those worked out in enough time to get on the agenda for today, but clearly you all have quite the undertaking today and done a great job. I'm a new resident to this area, moved from Russell County, and I'm pleased to see the sort of the new aura that's here in this room. I've been in a few council meetings, know it's been difficult. Served time on the Russell County Board of Supervisors, so I'm familiar with what it feels like to sit in those seats, and certainly have you all in our thoughts and our prayers as you make decisions that impact everyone. Look forward to working with you on this specific issue. Mr. Craig's very familiar with it, and I'm sure can answer any questions you all have, and I'm glad to do so as well, and look forward to working with you to get that resolved later on in the month. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jeff. That is all of the speakers that I see. I want to assure all of you that if you're not signed up, that we are open to public comment at this time, and even though you're not signed up, you're welcome to come and speak. Okay, there are no other speakers. The next item is second reading of the ordinance for the vacation of the 15-foot public right-of-way labeled, I don't know, it's on 243 Puget Street, and I think Matt Bolick wants to come and make a presentation.
Morning, Mayor and Council. It's good to see you this morning. Not evening, morning. This has been to the council several times now. I think it's pretty straightforward. This was approved last council meeting on the first reading. We've had no changes by the applicant since then, so I would recommend that it's approved on the second reading also. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have about the matter.
Let's see, the three new members, do you have any knowledge, or I hate to ask you to vote on this if we...
No, I've been to the past couple of meetings. I feel confident with what I've heard.
Nobody needs any more information to vote?
No, I'm good.
Okay, all right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Do I hear a motion on the consideration of an ordinance to vacate a right-of-way at 243 Puget Street?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we vacate the right-of-way as recommended.
I'll second that.
The motion has been made and seconded to vacate the 15-foot right-of-way at 243 Puget Street. Is there any discussion? Hearing no discussion, Kim, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Bradley?
Aye.
Ms. Wedge?
Aye.
Mr. Webb?
Aye.
Ms. Patterson?
Aye.
And Mayor Craig?
Aye. The next item on the agenda is resolutions. Consideration of resolution authorizing the interim town manager to act on behalf of council with regard to administrative and human resource matters pertaining to council employees. Tony, I don't think I have a copy of that. Would you read it for us, or if necessary, I think it's important that the public hear it.
I'll read it or whoever wants to read it.
You want me to read it?
Yeah, please, if you don't mind.
Certainly. A resolution of the council for the town of Abingdon, Virginia, directing the daily operations and duties of all appointees, department heads, and employees be under the direct supervision of the town manager. Whereas Section 4.2 of the Town of Abingdon Charter states the town manager shall be the administrative and executive head of the municipal government, and whereas the town manager shall be chosen by the council without regard to political beliefs and solely upon the basis of his or her executive and administrative qualifications, and whereas the town manager's duties shall be prescribed by the council, and whereas the Town of Abingdon Charter states that the attorney, clerk, fire chief, fire officers, and treasurer are all appointees serving at the pleasure of the council, whose duties shall be prescribed in the charter, that such employees are subject to all rules and regulations for employees as outlined in the Town of Abingdon Personnel Manual, and that all other employees, both full and part-time, are hired by the town manager and his or her assigns. Therefore, be it resolved by the Abingdon Town Council that the town manager be directed to fulfill such duties as the administrative and executive head of the municipal government. And be it further resolved that the daily operations and duties of all employees and departments of the town are under the sole supervision of the town manager in consultation with the town council when required, and that the council members and employees shall work with and through the town manager to implement the wishes of the entire council.
Thank you, Tony. As a way of saying this in plain layman's terms, that instead of the form of a resolution, I'd like to, I'm sorry. I can't bend over far enough.
We need some extensions.
I say,
Hello?
you've heard a resolution, and I'm not sure the public understands clearly from that language that what we're trying to, or what we may be trying to do here. We have council appointees, as I've explained earlier, that are they're appointed by the town council, and the town manager is really not equipped to discipline those employees if necessary, or to do a whole lot without the council's approval. The town council is not really equipped to supervise town employees. We are not experts in town management, and it's difficult to get have 5 people supervising council employees, appointees. So this is designed to put all council appointees, all those appointments that have been made today, under the supervision of the town manager. That way, the action we took today on raising their salaries will be recommended by the town manager in the budget process. So we don't work with them on a day-to-day basis, so we think he's much better equipped to make those types of decisions for us. Now, I want to make it perfectly clear that we appointed them, and Mr. Sullivan, or whoever the town manager may be in the future, will not be able to terminate their employment. They are still independent, as I think the charter intended, that they be independent, because they give it very important advice that we need to hear before they're terminated, if they are terminated. So I hope that explains this a little bit clearer than the resolution stated. So I wanted you all to understand the intent of the resolution. So do I hear a motion on this matter?
So moved.
Second?
Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, Kim, would you please call a roll?
Mr. Bradley?
Aye.
Ms. Quetch?
Aye.
Mr. Webb?
Aye.
Ms. Patterson?
Aye.
And Mayor Craig.
Aye. The next item on the agenda is consideration of bids, which we have none. So the next item is reports from the interim town manager. Tony?
Yes, sir. The first item on the agenda, which I seem to have overrun, is the consideration, well, council has just arrived. If you want to stop right now for your closed session, we can do that.
Tony, you think this is going to be very long, or
This-
should we
these-
just wait and?
It's at your pleasure. Well, I mean, we'll get through these 6 items pretty quickly.
Okay. Well,
Yeah, let's do
Ms. Ward, we're going to finish our. Okay, all right.
Item 1 would be consideration of date for council to tour departments. This is traditionally done during the organizational year to give council an opportunity to go around and visit each department, to see what they do, to meet the staff. Open for dates, I would recommend that we move it toward the latter part of September or even into the first part of October, because traditionally it's been hot when we've done this in July and August, and it's just been miserable, actually. But we're open to dates if, whatever the pleasure of council would be.
Well, do you all have any ideas when you want to tour the departments?
I'm very flexible.
Okay, let me get my calendar out. I'm good with
September.
You have a full-time job, Derek. Why don't we start with you?
Okay. Let's see here. We looking at September or October?
I don't know. What do you think, Tony? Sooner or?
Well, I would put it off to at least mid-September, just because of the
Okay.
heat that we experience in
Okay.
July and
All right.
August.
Yeah, you don't want to be at the wastewater plant when it's
No.
hot, I'll tell you
What,
that.
what day of the week's best?
That would be up to council, and this usually is an all-day event, so.
I would propose either the 19th or the 20th of September, if you guys ask me.
19th or the 20th of September. Al?
That's fine with me.
It's fine with me.
And I think that's okay with me, but may I look at
Either
my
do.
phone? I know we're not supposed
Yeah,
to have
yeah,
it
go
in
ahead and look at
session,
your
but
phone.
that's my calendar.
The
so-
19th or the 20th is okay with me.
The 20th, on the 20th, our Human Resources Director is not here. She may be important to take around that day.
Oh, come on.
Sorry, you can blame her. But the 19th, she is here, so if,
Okay, I'm okay with the 19th,
Okay,
if everybody else is okay with the
Okay, then,
19th.
we don't need to vote on this, I don't think. Is
19th.
everybody's okay with the 19th? What time, Tony?
so we'll set
Set a
council.
time later?
Well, we'll set the date at September 19th, and if you all want to meet here at 9 o'clock, and if we change it, we'll move it back to 8:30, but we'll shoot for 9 o'clock.
Okay, it's the 19th at 9 o'clock.
Next item I have is a consideration of the continuance of the Arthur Campbell Awards. These were originated a few years ago to recognize individuals who have made extraordinary contributions to the town of Abingdon or Southwest Virginia, or to residents or business leaders or people from Abingdon who have made a unique contribution on a local, regional, state, or national, international level. There are areas of service that are included: government, public service, humanitarian service, education, heroism, medicine, literature, athletic achievement, visual or performing arts, philanthropy, and science. There is a committee required, and there's a nomination process. Normally, the applications are due by the second week of August. I don't know if this is too much, or even if you want to continue them at this time. I don't think last year we had anybody nominated, did we?
Okay, well, is there a motion on what to do about the Arthur Campbell Award?
I move we discontinue them.
You wanted to, I'm sorry, you're in the middle of a motion.
Yeah,
I just want to clarify, do you want to discontinue them or just make it something we look at annually?
Discontinue, I think.
Discontinue.
Okay, is there a second?
I will second that.
Motion has been made and seconded to discontinue the Arthur Campbell Awards. Is there any discussion?
Yes, Mayor Craig, I'd like to mention that although we want to be fair about anybody and everyone that does extraordinary and lives extraordinary examples here in Abingdon, I think that we should revisit some other type of an award. we might name it Arthur Campbell, but we'll revisit this perhaps in the future and get citizen input on what they want. We want to hear what the citizens want, because we work for you. We're a public servant to you. So if you have any ideas, we'd love for your comments to be emailed to us, or you can talk to us personally by phone, or just walking up to us, talking to us. That's my opinion. I just want to be fair and make sure that, I think there might be some, I don't know how much advertisement that we're doing for Arthur Campbell Awards too, so we need to advertise more if we're going to do community awards, so that everybody's aware of what we're doing and why we're doing it, and give a lot of, all the people in Abington an opportunity to be nominated.
Thank you, Cindy, for your comments. Is there any other discussion? Hearing no discussion, Kim, please call the roll.
Mr. Bradley?
Aye.
Ms. Quetch?
Aye.
Mr. Webb?
Aye.
Ms. Patterson?
Aye.
And Mayor Crick?
Aye. The next item on the agenda, oh, wait a minute, Tony's still on here.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
All right. I'm in your ballpark right now. There are going to be a few hiccups, ladies and gentlemen. We got a lot of new people here.
Next item on the manager's agenda is the consideration of a rental agreement for the Summers Law Office, which is a building that the town owns at the intersection of Court and Plum Alley. Right now it's leased as a retail space for an artisan. She will be vacating that lease this month. We'll be doing a walkthrough this week. We've had several folks already contacting my office interested in leasing the property. Had one even contact Mr. Banner about selling the property. Just looking for some guidance which way you go. I don't think it's going to be a problem to get that, to accept some bids and get that property leased at this time. But we would have to advertise to accept bids, so we're still going to be looking at, a 30 to 45 day process. Just trying to get the feeling of council if you want me to go ahead and accept bids for the lease of that property. And they've been business owners who have contacted us, by the way. Go ahead and accept bids, and do you want me to handle it? Do you want me to just open the bids? Just trying to get a feel for where you want to go, because I want to get these folks moved as quickly as possible if they're trying to start building.
Okay, Tony, do you want us to vote on this, or can we just get a consensus? You want us to vote on it?
I would need you to vote, and if you want me to go ahead and handle the lease agreement, to open the bids and handle the lease, there's a question in the audience.
I'm not supposed to do this, but if some citizen wants to, Mr. Jennings, what would you like to tell us?
Sir, can you come up
Can you
here?
come up to the
State your
podium,
name.
please, sir?
I'm gonna do a lot of things I'm not supposed to do. I want citizens to speak, so, when they need to.
My name is Edison Jennings. I live at 247 East Main Street, Abington. I wasn't aware that this was going to be coming up for town council. I live on Plum Alley, not very far from that building. Plum Alley has sometimes serious traffic problems, and some of the traffic on there actually poses a danger to children and pets. I mean pets, pets too, for that matter. Just
Bless your heart.
tourists that walk up and down it. I think that leasing the summer cottage for commercial concerns could pose some significant problems with regard to parking, which is already tight, and with regard to the safety of Plum Alley, which I'd also like to add is two-way. It's not a one-way alley, it's two-way alley, which is a problem enough without exacerbating it with more traffic. So we just want to put that forward.
Thank you, Mr. Jennings. Council, having heard that, I think it might be a good idea if we allowed other citizens to speak on this matter. So what do you all think about taking this up at the next work session?
Is there an established rental fee for this?
There is, in fact, I think we put the existing lease agreement in your packet, and it was a bid process. I think right now it's $300 a month.
It's more reasonable.
Yeah, oh yeah.
That's what I was on a question.
Well, I heard what Mr. Jennings said, and parking may be an issue, so you think it's a good idea to take this up at the work session?
You know, quite honestly, whatever your pleasure is, where that building's located, I mean, there's parking on the street, on Court Street. There's also parking around the corner on Valley and/or on Main. So I don't see that business as any different from any other of the shop fronts that face Court Street.
Okay.
There is no parking there. I think there's one spot that's attached to that in the alley, and I might be wrong. But
Okay, guys, what's your pleasure? Do you want to authorize Tony to seek bids for the rental, for the lease, or do you want to do, what do you want to do?
I think it'd be fine for Tony to go ahead and advertise, and let's see what kind of responses we get from the,
Okay, well, you want to make a motion?
make that informal motion, sir.
And I'll second.
Okay, is there any further discussion? Hearing no discussion, Kim, please call the roll.
Mr. Bradley?
Aye.
Ms. Quetch?
Aye.
Mr. Webb?
Aye.
Ms. Patterson?
Aye.
And Mayor Craig?
Aye.
Item 4, Mr. Bailey, if he would come forward and speak about Freedom of Information Act fees and/or adoption of Freedom of Information Act fees.
Lloyd Bailey, Director of Information Technology and FOIA Information Officer for the Town of Abingdon. You should have before you a recommendation for the establishment of fees for FOIA requests. And I want to say that in the construction of this fee structure, my goal was to ensure that we continue with the face of open government and freedom of information. With that being said, I thought it was reasonable, and that with doing some research with a lot of government entities as well as localities around the Commonwealth, that we should offer 5 free FOIA requests to every citizen, and that we charge them nothing. But realizing also that it's time consuming often, and there are expenses that can be incurred. If someone chose to request that their documents be printed, that we charge a nominal fee, 10 cents a copy, which is actual costs. It's not excessive, and we're not even charging for the cost of the human labor, but we are charging for the actual physical costs of producing that. If they'll take it electronically, my recommendation is it should be free, and we can provide information quickly. And my goal continually is to improve the process by which we acquire that information, so that the more information is electronically stored, the easier it is to access and the easier it is to disseminate it. So looking at your chart, you'll see that I've recommended 5 free requests for every citizen of the Commonwealth. And then if someone requests that it must be printed on paper, that we only charge the necessary fee. Now, if someone of 10 cents per copy per side, if somebody determines that they are going to request information exceeding the 5 free, I think I've made a recommendation for you that we charge a very minimal hourly fee. And the reason for that is, it gets real convoluted when we say, well, this person makes X number of dollars an hour, and that person makes X number of dollars an hour, and we got to figure out how many hours you're working and how many hours you're working. And we're trying to come up with that takes more time than just saying a flat fee. We're just going to charge you $15 an hour, and that's pretty reasonable relative to what our employees make. And that way, again, we're keeping an open sense that, if you want information, there is a cost. We're going to do our best to provide it to you free of charge, and when we have to, we're going to charge you as minimally as possible in order to ensure that we're not cheating the citizens of the town who pay their taxes for the work that we do. So that's my recommendation. I hope if you have any questions, I'll be glad to address it.
Do they just have to be a resident here in Abingdon, or do they have to be a Virginia registered voter?
They have to be a legal resident of the Commonwealth of Virginia. How you define a legal resident, I think doesn't specify voting, it specifies a license in the Commonwealth of Virginia.
I don't have any questions, but first of all and foremost, this was my passion. We met a long time ago with some of the management of the town of Abingdon 2 years ago, Wayne and I did, and we wanted an open way for the citizens of Abingdon and the Commonwealth to receive FOIA requests that they ask for. There's reasons and purposes for that. And first and foremost, I want to commend you for the work that you've been doing to try to help the citizens of Abingdon and not incur them a burden of money per se on them when they want a FOIA request, something that simple. And for downsizing the cost of this, I'm very happy that you're doing this, and I hope I'm speaking for the council. We want open government, and this is a really big step as far as transparency and open government to show the public that we are working with them to show that we have nothing to hide here. So thank you so much for doing that, Mr. Bailey. I really appreciate that.
You are very welcome.
Thank you, Floyd.
Thank you.
Okay, council, would you?
We have a question.
Okay, come on up
Would you
there.
come up, please?
Thank you for letting me speak. In light of open government, this is the first time anybody in the public's heard about it. I just make a recommendation to put it on your work session and vote next time. But I would also like to reiterate that Mr. Bailey and our new interim town council manager have done an excellent job of providing information. It's a welcome breath of fresh air to be able to get information and not having it redacted and thrown out and charged attorney fees. But I do suggest you put it on the work session, so if anybody else wants to speak, they could. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I do need a point of order, and Mr. Levine touched on it, and he did touch on the issue of redacted. I mean, there's still things that are going to be redacted. I mean, everybody hopefully understands that. There's a lot of people in this room have a very good grasp of what freedom of information means and how it should be applied. However, there are certain things that the state gives you redaction avenues to take. And as an interim manager, certainly as the police chief, I would say you'd be unwise not to take those avenues because they're there for a reason. The state recognized when they passed the law that some of the information that you give out could be proprietary, it could be damaging. Even at the police departments, you know, giving out people's addresses, we block those out, and phone numbers. So there's certain things that have to be redacted, and it's mainly for safety. So
We understand that, certainly.
Okay, I'm operating a little bit loose here. There probably should be a motion on the floor before we discuss anything. So does council, what's your pleasure on this matter of the fees? Do I have a motion?
Could somebody restate the fees for me, please?
Lloyd, could you, he wants to restate the fees. Could you do that?
Y'all should have a copy, and I don't have one, and I'm sorry about that, but I can tell you, because I wrote it pretty much.
You want me to?
Have you got it?
Yeah.
Basically, the fee structure says this. The first 5 requests per year by a Virginia resident in electronic response are free. Requests over the initial first 5 per year for Virginia residents will be charged at a rate of $15 per hour for collection, which would be considered a 1-hour minimum charge. So if a person makes a request, we charge them $15 over the 5. So the first 5 are free. We keep track of that in the FOIA office. All printed requests, in other words, you want it in a physical document, not electronically sent, are charged at 10 cents per page per side, and the $15 per hour for document handling and preparation over the first initial 5. all requests from outside vendors, people who do not live in the Commonwealth or do not have established residency in the Commonwealth, are charged at the town's actual costs. Large paper requests in excess of $200, we're asking for a 50% deposit be made. Labor and printing charges are based on the $15 per hour and 10 cents per page per side. I think it's pretty simple and straightforward for the reason that we didn't want to, have a lot of what ifs and wherefores, and just pretty simple and straightforward. If you live in Virginia, you get 5 free. We don't charge you anything. If you ask them to be printed, we charge you 10 cents per page per side. After 5, you get charged $15 an hour for the collection and 10 cents per page per side.
Thank you.
If you live outside of Virginia, and which most of the time, my experience is that people who don't live in the Commonwealth are only asking for FOIA information for business purposes. They're building their businesses, and oftentimes they're looking for information to build databases, to be able to produce information and make money. So we charge them our real costs at that point. But that's for folks outside the Commonwealth. Okay.
Mr. Bailey, let me put you on the spot here just a minute, please.
Okay.
And thank you very much for these fees. I think they're very reasonable, and I'm not concerned about the amount of. However, on our website somewhere there is a policy on FOIA, and it's a very lengthy thing. Is that an official policy? Do you know? Was it ever formally adopted by the town council and enacted as a policy for FOIA?
The information that's on the website was placed there when the Commonwealth of Virginia in 2016 required the establishment of a FOIA officer in every locality. And when that happened, they produced that document that you're talking about. So that is the Commonwealth of Virginia document that we took and just put onto our website. And council did at that time recommend that that be done. Yeah.
Just for clarification, you can hit just about any locality in the state on their website, and when you hit their FOIA policy, it's going to be the same one, because that was the state FOIA council's recommendation.
Right. Yeah, the state put that out, and we just transferred it over. Well, we can make alterations within the guidelines as much as we want, and that's what we're trying to accomplish, is improving our presentation.
Okay, are fees a part of that policy?
They are.
Okay.
And it's pretty straightforward. We can only charge fees based on real costs, and that we cannot require somebody to pay and not respond. So in other words, if a person comes in with a FOIA request and we tell them, here's your fee, and they don't pay, we still have to produce the material. And we still have to have it ready, sitting there for them by law. And if they ever walks in with the money, it has to be handed right to them. And within the deadline, within the time frame of 5 days, is the spirit of the law, that we have that material sitting there ready, whether they pay or not. We can't charge them up front, in other words.
Well, do
You
you
can't
have
say pay or.
outstanding balances? Do you have outstanding balances?
There have been requests made in the past that were excessive, and there were costs levied that were based on real costs of the town that everybody would say would be excessive. I mean, it was expensive because we had people making big salaries, taking their time to do it. And so yes, there are actually documents that were produced and are sitting in our file but by law, if we were to be questioned by the state, the Commonwealth, and they were to come in and say, did you respond to this FOIA request? We still have to produce the documents, and they're sitting there doing absolutely nothing because they were never paid for and never picked up. We also have requests that are made, and previously, the requests for physical documents that never been picked up. And so, but we still produce them and we store them.
Mr. Bailey, would you say that would be fair to say that because of the amount of money is probably the reason that they didn't get picked up, because they were so costly.
I would say so, probably. I mean, I can't read into someone's motive, but I certainly can say that I should hope that nobody would have the mentality that they were just trying to keep us busy. I wouldn't think that. I truly believe that because of the lack of a real policy by council that says this is what we're going to charge. We did as employees what the Commonwealth allowed for, which was the real cost of the employees doing the work. And oftentimes those were very high-paid people, so it made the cost go through the sky.
Yes, I'm aware of several $1,000s worth on one request.
Yeah.
And that
So-
was too expensive.
And ultimately, we can produce, so much of what we do is electronic anymore, and we're not having to stand and print this stuff. And as long as people don't specify, I want it in paper, we're fine to give people electronic documents free. They're fairly easy to amass and distribute if we just take the time. Redaction is an important issue. That does take time. But again, with processes that are available to us and even software that we have available to us, we can do that even a whole lot faster than we've been doing in the past. And, you know, it's honestly been a learning process for all of us. Everybody has wanted to do the right thing, just been sort of in a situation where, you know, this is a lot of work and it's taking a lot of time, and they weren't really sure how to get it done faster. We're looking for ways to get it done faster, save the taxpayer money, save the town the work.
Well, one thing I want to say is, number one, I think we need a formal, within the guidelines, a formal policy of our FOIA, and I've been working, trying to get that to happen, and it just takes time.
It does.
And I want to make sure we're in the guidelines, and I hope that that's the pleasure of the council as well. We will need to talk about this. As far as, I'd like to set some fees, because right now we're standing here not doing anything about the fees, and when are we going to start this? And I think today might be a good day to start it, but I don't want to tie us to just this in our policy. I want to maybe have a work session and have the public input. Again, this has been my passion and my project that I want to make sure that we carry out and get it fully and get it on the website within our guidelines of the law.
Since I have been the FOIA officer, we have not charged one person 1 cent.
Thank you.
So we're producing FOIA requests right now for free, and that includes pretty much anything anybody has asked for, even out of state requests, and all they wanted was information for their database. So, you know, it was hundreds of pages of data, but we produced it because we don't have a structure. The reason we need a structure is to make sure that legally, we're not required to answer FOIA requests outside the Commonwealth of Virginia. We do anyway. Because, again, I just think it's reasonable. But it's also reasonable for us to charge real charges for the taxpayer dollars that are spent in doing it. And that's the reason we need this structure.
Yeah, I agree.
It's the only reason.
Okay, council, what's your pleasure on this matter? You want to pass the fees and work on any other FOIA policies, work
I
session?
would like to do that, I think. What
Or
do y'all think?
what do you want to do?
I say we have a work session. Decide on it next month.
I don't
You
want to
wanna-
wait this long, I'd say.
Yeah.
You want to wait till... the
Okay,
next
we'll
one?
make a motion.
Yeah, so do we need to table it for next month, or make a motion to have a work session, or?
Yeah, it'd be a motion to table it, until the next work session, or postpone it, I guess is the correct term, I'm not sure.
So yeah, I'd like to make a motion to postpone the actual fees until the next council meeting, and we're gonna work on that in the work session.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? Hearing no discussion, Kim, please call a roll.
Mr. Bradley?
Aye.
Ms. Quetch?
Aye.
Mr. Webb?
Aye.
Ms. Patterson?
Aye.
And Mayor Craig.
Aye.
Speaking of work sessions, council has a desire to resume the work sessions. We've not had council work sessions in a while. It's my understanding that you all may want to do a mid-month work session, and we'd be open to dates. And we will schedule, by the way, we will put this FOIA issue as one of the first ones on the work session. Or do you have a date in mind for July?
I believe,
We have a date, don't we?
we have Davenport scheduled for
26.
the what,
26.
26? I don't have it on my,
And Mayor
Okay.
Craig, may I look at my phone again, please, for this purpose?
no, you can't do
Okay,
that.
thank you. I appreciate that. I just wanna make sure that everybody knows I'm looking at it for the calendar. I have the 26th also. at
You okay?
At 7 p.m., correct?
I guess that's to be decided, 7 o'clock, all right with everybody?
Yeah.
Okay.
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 August 17th.
July the
July the
26th.
26th.
That'd be July 26th.
You know what I did? I just put it in June. Boy, that's brilliant. Oh, I've already got it on there. It was in the wrong month. I knew there'd be a lot of hiccups. Let's see, so, do you want us to?
As long as everybody's agreeable, July
Well,
26th at 7.
We don't have to do it. For the council's information, we discussed, and I think all council members are agreeable to this. I want to inform the public that our work sessions will include, at the beginning, something like a 30-minute time period, that any citizen who wants to come and speak to the council, ask any questions, have us discuss anything with them, there'll be a 30-minute period in that work session at the beginning. So that would be the 26th at 7 o'clock. We'll allow what we're calling public discussion for a period of about 30 minutes, where you can come and talk with the council and interact with the council. And in the future, I think we all agreed that the public I'll recognize members from the public today, but in the future, after the public comment period, we will not allow the public to speak in our regular meetings, because that is reserved just for town business. If you want to talk with the council, I think it's a good idea to please come to the work session, so, okay.
Mayor Craig, just got a question about that.
Okay.
Does that mean we'll still have our speaking session though for public like we've always done?
Yeah, we'll continue to have a public comment period, but after that public comment period in our regular council meetings, we will not recognize people from the public anymore. But I did it today because you hadn't had an opportunity to do that previously. Okay.
But we will in the work session.
Right.
Interaction.
Correct. Okay.
Finally, my last item is consideration of dates for you all to review your applications for your manager position. If there is a time and date that you want to get together, obviously we'd have to publicize that. If you all can set a date at this time, or you just want to pass it by, whichever one you want to do.
Do you all want to set a date to review those applications?
Sure.
We'll have to post it as a meeting because there's more than 3 council members. So you all have to, and Stacy, there are staff persons on that. Are you prepared to tell us when they're available, or?
Yes, I can make it work whenever the council is ready to do that. I have the packets for each of you to take home tonight to review those applications. Chuck, Jane, and I can meet separately and review, and then we can come together to kind of brainstorm on how we want to move forward next.
So we can set it at any time, and you all will?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay, council, when do you want to consider these applications? Or look them over.
Is this going to be a closed session meeting?
Yeah, it'll be a closed session meeting. We can't do
You
that in
guys-
open session. We'll jeopardize somebody's
Yeah,
job.
that's what I was
Y'all wanna
thinking.
do next week? Are we looking that soon, or? Got the 10th and the 11th next week, if you guys are interested.
Yeah, next week would be, I'm pretty much open. How about you, Al, next week?
Yeah, next week's fine with me. You and I, Wayne, are retired, so we're available
Yeah,
most all the time.
but we're not gonna do it before 10 o'clock in the morning. I can't.
Well, I'd like to do it in the afternoon.
Amen.
How about,
Afternoon.
could y'all check your calendar for the 12th, guys? Is it the 12th? I've got that day open.
The 12th, I'm actually at work.
Oh, goodness. I could do it the 10th.
The 10th would work with me.
Can we make it after 2?
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
I'm good with
We'll be awake by then, won't we, huh? After 2?
I hope to be, yeah.
The 12th, you want to make it at 2 on the 12th?
2 on the 10th, I think he said.
Yeah, the
Oh,
10th.
10th, I'm sorry. All right. Okay, 2 o'clock on the 10th, then, does that suit you, Tony? Oh, well, you're
I'm not
gonna
gonna be there.
Yeah, we're not gonna let you be there. 2 o'clock on the 10th, then.
And
And-
again, I've got my phone here.
No, that, you can post notice and that's, make it legal at that point, okay.
All right. I've
All
got
right,
it on my calendar.
everybody's clear, 2 o'clock on the 10th. And we'll do that, I guess, in the Arthur Campbell room, or where are we gonna do it, Kim?
You can absolutely do it on
Go ahead.
I just have a quick question. Typically, when we do meetings such as this, the IT department needs to film you coming into the meeting, and then you go into closed session. And is that still how you want to do it?
Yes.
Yes.
Just wanted to confirm so we know to be here and make that happen.
Okay. All right, council, I'm in a dilemma at this point. Mr. Ward is here, the attorney for the closed session. We told him to come at 9:30, and Tony and I thought that that would be at the breaking point for the organizational meeting and the meeting that we're in right now. I think it might be a good idea to rearrange the agenda and allow Mr. Ward to come with us into closed session for the purpose that he is here. Because I think there are items remaining that will take a long time, and the town is paying Mr. Ward by the hour, and Mr. Ward has other business to do, I'm sure. So, what's your pleasure on that? You want to rearrange the agenda and go into closed session at this point? Or you want to go ahead?
Yes, please.
Can't we do the personnel matter initially, because it's on the agenda too?
We can do,
for closed sessions?
we can do them both in the same closed session if we state the purpose. The EDA appointment, you can't do it, gotta go
One
in
at a
again?
time. Yes, you
Okay,
have
one
to.
at a time.
Yes.
All right, okay, so we'll do the legal matter at this point, and I think Kim's gotten written down what we're supposed to say somewhere.
It's under regular C.
All right, somebody wanna make a motion to go in closed session?
I'll make a motion to go in closed session for,
Read this one.
okay. The closed session pursuant to section 2.2-3711A5 of the Code of Virginia is amended for the purpose of discussing correspondence from legal counsel regarding pending litigation, Kevin Sandoval plaintiff versus Kathy Lowe, Richard Humphreys, Robert Howard, Deborah C. Eisenhower, and the Town Council of Abingdon, defendants Washington County Circuit Court case number CL17-1825.
Ms. Patterson, would you add to that motion meeting with Mr. Ward? Because when the agenda went out, he was not available.
I sure will. And this meeting will be with Mr. Ward, Mr. Bob Ward.
Okay, I hear a second?
I'll second.
Motion's been made and seconded to go into closed session. Is there any discussion? Hearing no discussion, Kim, please call the roll.
Mr. Bradley?
Aye.
Ms. Quetch?
Aye.
Mr. Webb?
Aye.
Ms. Patterson?
Aye.
And Mayor Kraft.
Aye. Okay, we're going into closed session. This is for your information, this probably will take a half an hour or so. Kim.
Yeah, you bet.
we on? Testing, can y'all hear us? You wanna test?
Can you hear me? Okay. Council, we need to go back into open session, so,
I'd like to,
go ahead, Cindy.
I'd like to make a motion to go back into open session. Could you read the,
Yes, but we have to go first.
We got to vote first.
oh, we do,
Okay. Do I hear a second?
I'll second it.
Okay. The motion has been made and seconded to return to open session. It's in discussion. Okay. Hearing none, Kim, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Bradley?
Aye.
Ms. Quetz? Aye. Mr. Webb?
Aye.
Ms. Patterson?
ah,
And Mayor Craig.
Aye. Okay, Kim, we've got to certify. Will you read your certification, please?
Whereas the Council of the Town of Abingdon, Virginia has convened in a closed meeting on this date pursuant to an affirmative recorded vote and in accordance with the provisions set forth in the Virginia Freedom of Information Act. Whereas Section 2.23712D of the Code of Virginia 1950 as amended requires a certification by the Town Council that such closed meeting was conducted in conformity with Virginia law. Now therefore it be resolved that the Council of the Town of Abingdon, Virginia hereby certifies that to the best of each member's knowledge, only public business matters lawfully exempted from an open meeting required by Virginia law were discussed in closed meeting to which this certification resolution applies. Only such public business matters as were identified in the motion convening the closed meeting were heard, discussed, or considered by the Town Council. Mr. Bradley, so certified?
I so certify.
Ms. Quetz?
I so certify.
Mr. Webb?
I so certify.
Ms. Patterson?
I so certify.
And Mayor Craig.
I so certify. Okay, the next item on the agenda is consideration, excuse me. All right, go ahead.
But you need the motion.
We need a motion from the
Need a
closed
motion?
session.
Yeah, from the
Oh,
session.
I'm sorry. I told you there'd be a hiccup.
That's okay.
We need a motion to, we've already done it.
No, we're not.
We need a motion to, go back into,
No, not that motion. No, we're talking about the motion we've got.
No matter. Yeah, it's okay.
I'm sorry. Al, do you have a motion to make?
I move and request that Robert W. Ward and the form of Ward and Rasnick P.C. are discharged and relieved of their responsibility to represent the Town Council of Abingdon, Virginia in the matter of Kathy C. Lowe et al. And Kevin Sandoval.
Do I hear a second?
And direct the town manager.
Yeah, I think we can.
Oh, and direct the town manager to do whatever he does.
To seek new legal counsel in this matter. Mr. Bradley, is that your motion?
Yeah, that's my vote. Oh, I thought you'd never get there.
All right, do I hear a second? I told you there'd be a hiccup. Do I hear a second?
I second it.
All right. Okay, council, is there any discussion? Hearing no discussion, Kim, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Bradley?
Aye.
Ms. Quetch?
Aye.
Mr. Webb?
Aye.
Ms. Patterson?
Aye.
And Mayor Craig.
Aye. Okay, we got through that. One other thing I've forgotten to do is,
We do have a date conflict that was brought up, as we were talking before. The application for town manager, they have a conflict with the date, if y'all want to.
It's actually not me. Our human resources director is going to be in training on the day that you all selected. She is available on the 12th, correct? You can't do the 10th, you can't do the 12th, right? Correct. The 10th, I believe, was a Monday? Tuesday? You could do Thursday, but you couldn't do Thursday.
I can't do Thursday, but that, I mean, I don't have to be there.
yeah, you do. We're gonna get a date everybody can be there.
Thursday's not a great day for me either, to tell you the truth.
Okay.
If we move to the next week, the 19th would work for me. It's a Thursday. If you
Then-
guys are.
Stacy says the 19th works for her, and if we can keep her schedule online, we're good.
We do have,
What time on the
work
19th?
session at 6 p.m.
Well, the work session's on the 26th.
Oh, I was on the 19th. I'll get there.
Yeah, the 19th.
The work
26th,
session's
that's
on
what
the
you're saying.
26th.
The work session's on the 26th. You're looking at a council manager application, town manager
Yeah.
application review date.
I said the 19th's okay with me.
And the 19th of July is where
Yeah.
we are.
19th of July, all right with everybody?
Can we do it in the afternoon?
Sure.
Have
Yeah.
doctor's appointment?
You'd originally had
Are
2
you
o'clock.
okay, Stacy? All right.
3 o'clock?
I think
2
y'all had
o'clock.
2 o'clock originally, right? Do you want to stick with 2 o'clock?
We
That's
have to
great.
do that, then will that interfere?
All right, so we're no longer on the 10th.
Well, we'll have to change it if we do that. I don't think we're gonna be there.
All right, so the 19th works for me.
Okay, all right, well, it's scheduled for the 19th then.
19th at 2.
19th, Donna, you said 3 is 2 all right with you?
No, 2's fine, 2's
Okay.
fine.
Thank you.
Okay, we are supposed to sign these,
Yes, right here.
the Code of Ethics.
Code of ethics. That's me.
Here we go.
Oh, okay. This is not your signature on it.
Oh, okay, well, here.
Boy, we're a bunch of clowns, you know?
Here you go.
I'll pass them this way, and I'll get Kim to inform the public that all members have signed the Code of Ethics.
I'll just go find it. Craig?
At the pleasure of council, we could make these a public document on our website if you chose to do so.
What's your pleasure on that? You want them on the website?
Fine with me.
Signatures
Yes.
and codes of ethics?
Yeah, that'd be
Okay.
great.
Think it'd be a good idea. All right, Kim, can you let us know, did everybody sign those?
I'm filling my calendar out, Mr. Craig, to finish up what we were doing a few minutes ago.
All right, all members have signed the Code of Ethics, so we're gonna be ethical. The next item, it's under old business, is consideration of additional non-departmental funds to Washington County Public Library. As you all know, there has been, the library has been kinda upset that we didn't really cut their funding, in my opinion, but we funded them in a manner that was not suitable to them to do the business that they need to do. So this item's on the agenda to restore those funds, and I have information, Chuck, that you can find a place in the budget if you want to come forward.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, one of the things that you all had approved in the last budget was a $2,500 allotment to the library. Since then, we discussed, I met with Mr. Craig and Ms. Patterson at the library with those folks, we decided to look for ways to fully fund their request. One of the things that happened this past week was that one of the groups that you all had allotted $3,000 to is no longer in existence. The Literacy, I think, was the name of the group. So what I did, I went ahead and allotted that $3,000 to the library. So that's given 55, I think it's either 6 or 5,500, one of the two, and we got another like $1,500 to come up with.
And you can find that for us.
Yep, we will make that item to look for.
Okay.
Does that need our blessing, or?
It would be if you could make a motion to either, for either myself or the treasurer to find those funds to allocate.
I think it's another $1,500, Mr. Brad.
I believe 1,500 was the number you gave me.
I think the Literacy was getting 3,500 or whatever. I think we were getting, we're at $1,500 that we're looking for, so to speak.
I would move that the town manager and treasurer find the missing funds for the library and reinstate that.
And I'll second that motion.
Okay, the motion is to, for you to find $5,000 and appropriate it to the library.
We have found 3, we've got to look for 1,500 more.
Is there a,
A second.
if it's been moved and seconded, is there any discussion?
Mayor, if I may, please, I just want to say that I think that Ms. Parsons and the staff at the library and the volunteers do a wonderful job there. I love the library, the peaceful quietness, all the technology they've got there for people, citizens that don't have the funds to buy computers or whatever the problem may be. They can go in and use it. It's such a huge resource, teaching hub of Abingdon, Virginia. I was really impressed with we had to go in and look at the library, the tour that she gave us with Mr. Banner and Mr. Craig. So we went through all the departments and we saw children during their time at the library. They were looking at, they had a magic magician that day, but they get read to, and it's just very productive. The more you read to children, the more they learn, I believe. They need all the books they can get. So I just want to voice my opinion that I think this is a wonderful investment for the town of Abingdon to find those funds, and I want to thank you for finding those funds for the library and working with them, Mr. Banner.
Okay, I want to say this, that we've had kind of trouble satisfying the library in the past, and I think there's an opportunity for us to next budget session to handle the library in a little bit different manner. I think some of the town council members feel that her request should not be compared to requests like, not disparaging the old Great Tractor Association, but it's really kind of not comparable, because the library, we're part of the county, and the library is an essential element of the county. So Chuck Banner and I have talked about considering their request more like a departmental request, and that way we don't get political matters with who we give money to involved in that fashion. That it be more of a staff, more of a staff recommended request. So you're going to work with the library and proceed.
I've already actually spoken with Ms. Parsons, and we've had a couple of discussions
All right.
already.
Is there any other discussion? Thank you, Chuck. Hear none, Kim, please call the roll.
Mr. Bradley?
Aye.
Ms. Quetch?
Aye.
Mr. Webb?
Aye.
Ms. Patterson?
Aye.
And Mayor Craig.
Aye. Let's see, it's not on your agenda, but I believe it's
Mr.
going to
Craig, I got a couple items, yes, sir.
Okay, all right, you got a couple items, go
Uh,
ahead.
I'll dispense with the quick ones. There are two opportunities coming up in July that council may find themselves at the same place at the same time. We want to make sure we advertise that if you plan to attend. The first one is on July 10th from 5 to 7 at the Abingdon Fire Department. That is the public meeting in regards to the Park Street project. If 3 or more of you plan to attend, if you could just let us know so we can get Kim to advertise the fact that you all will be at the same place at the same time. Second opportunity will be July 17th at Abingdon High School from 4 to 6. That's the VDOT meeting. They do have an alternate date of July 24th, in case they get snowed out, I guess, in the middle of July. And again, if 3 or more of you plan on attending there, we ask you to please communicate so we can get that advertised.
Do you want us to decide that now, or?
Maybe we can do a show of hands.
If we could do a show of hands, that would be helpful, and we could just get it out.
All right, what's the first one?
July 10th meeting,
Department.
yes, sir.
Park Street?
Park Street.
And what time, what day, please,
That,
again?
that is July 10th from 5 to 7 at the fire department.
Okay, those who plan to attend that, the Park Street meeting, raise your hand.
Yeah, you got 4, yep. And then the second one is July 17th from 4 to 6 at Abingdon High School. 1, 2, 3, yeah, get them up. And then the last meeting, not on the the last item not on the agenda or for old business, would be the Green Spring Road discussion. And I would entertain, Matt Bullock is here, and if Matt wants to come forward and address some of the concerns that were pointed out by council and after some of the meetings with the folks from KVAC.
feel free to look at while we discuss.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Wish you.
Okay. Thank you, Mayor and Council. It's a pleasure to see you again this morning. This topic has come to staff's attention that the council would like to have some further discussion on the construction of a roundabout in the Green Springs Road plans. I would generally just like to say I'd be happy to answer any questions. I don't have a presentation planned. I would just like to walk you through the 3 sheets we have as handouts. Page 1 is the plan as it's approved and being constructed right now. So that's how things are. If there's no changes to it, that's what's under contract and under construction at this time. Sheets 2 and 3 are similar. What that does is removes the roundabout, puts in a stop-controlled intersection. The new street that runs left to right, that's Cook Street Extension. That would be a free flow, and north and south from top to bottom is Green Springs Road. Those would have stop signs. The only change is at the intersection between the 2 pages, sheets 2 and sheets 3, and it's more for conversation, is just to show that as you are traveling from right to left, as you get to Cummings Street, there's enough room there for a 5-lane section. That's 2 lanes going to the east, 3 lanes going to the west, and there's the most important thing is there's 2 left turn lanes from the development onto Cummings Street. We're still trying to decide internally if we think the through movement into the town center should be with the right lane or it should be one of the left lanes. So that's really the only change you'll see between sheets 2 and 3. Just some of the through movement in that direction up towards the current Food City development. Again, I don't have a presentation plan, but I'd be happy to answer any questions that council may have about this matter.
So the main difference between 2 and 3 is that 2 has a joint straight and left-hand movement in the middle, and 3 has 2 left turn lanes.
Dedicated left turn lanes, and then a
joint straight and
straight
right turn
Yes, sir.
movement.
Hey, Matt,
And
I'm sorry, could you just turn and just pass this around to the folks in the gallery, just so they can see, because this only came together on Thursday, and we don't have all of the plans out, so just, if you all would just pass that around so everybody can see what council's seeing.
Thank you, Mr. Sullivan.
Sorry.
No, and when you can, it'd be good to get them up there, but you said Thursday. I
Yeah,
get
this
that,
was,
I understand. Last
we
minute.
were last minute on this, just so everybody in the gallery can see what we have.
If that's okay with the council, I'd just like the public to see as well. And thanks for that, I really appreciate it.
I would just like to
Thank you, Mr.
say
Sullivan.
that whatever action the council does take today, please, in the motion, if it's a change, some sort of language to authorize the town manager and staff to execute this. We do want to make this as efficiently and economically as possible. The time is of the essence. Any change does, of course, have a monetary impact and a time impact to the project.
Matt, I have a question for you. Do you anticipate that the time impact will allow Food City to proceed with their project? Does it coincide? I believe the last time I talked with you, I don't know if you've had any discussions later, but you anticipate that if a change is made, that we'll be able to complete project in the spring, and I understand from Mr. Spangler that...
Mr. Craig, you got stood up.
I'm sorry.
Sorry about that. I guess I should say mayor, sorry.
I hate bending over on old. That, in other words, there's no conflict with Food City's development. The road should be in place at the same time their development is complete. Is that?
As I'm standing here today, we feel that we can still make those timelines work together.
Okay,
That
great.
any plan changes or delay for construction we feel we can work that into what Food City has planned.
Okay. And do you, have you heard from, Steve's back there, this doesn't doesn't change their situation detrimentally, as far as you know?
I would say, that in my belief, that it's a no, but we could certainly ask anyone from Food City to speak to that.
You're welcome to come up if we don't want to do anything that we're not aware of. It's up to you.
Do we have an idea on how much more it's going to cost? Just out of curiosity.
I purposely didn't authorize our contractor to make this change because I'm not going to do that without town council's direction. At this point, my best estimate is $125,000 to make this change out of a $4.9 million project.
And as far as you know, 50% of that will be paid off VDOT's funds, is that correct?
50% of the construction costs can be reimbursed. All the design costs to make this change will be fully funded by the town.
And what are the design costs?
Again, an estimate for that is going to be $10,000 to $15,000.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Thank you very much.
I guess to answer your question, again, we want to reiterate our opinion that the traffic circle, the roundabout, is adequate and would be a unique feature for the development. So long as the right-of-way, or the right-of-way and the real estate, two of these parcels to the right of the roundabout are part of our platted development. One is under contract, one is under letter of intent. The one under contract, they've actually gone through their certificate of appropriateness process, so it's imperative that none of that real estate or platted property is affected because there's some significant expense ramifications potentially involved for multiple parties in that. But as far as timeframes go, we're shooting for late Q1 to be open, so that would be what our request would be, that any change be done as efficiently as possible to have the street operational within the first quarter of 2019 at the latest. Just because it's our project, as I've stated in previous meetings, we've got leases signed, we've got lots sold. Those individuals are going to be coming in front of the Planning Commission and the Town Council to get their plans approved. As soon as their pads are ready, they're ready to start construction too. So there's multiple players that are relying on this road to be done and completed in a manner. Like I said, we're comfortable with the redesign if that's what council wants to pursue, but the time frames are what's very critical to us at this point in the project.
Okay. Thank you very much, Steve. Okay, council, I guess what the staff is asking us to do is if we want to make a change to authorize them to make the change in the Green Spring Road project from a one-lane entryway to a roundabout to a two-lane entryway to a multi-lane intersection. So what's your pleasure?
Well, I'd like to see us approve the original plan because of the cost and just the changes that, so it'd be like sort of a domino effect, I believe, with maybe delays. And so I personally think that we need to approve the original plan.
I do.
That's
Can
your
I ask
motion.
one more question, Matt? I'm sorry.
Please do. I can get as far in the weeds as you'd like to today.
No, you're fine. So if the road goes through like it's currently being done, how quickly will that road be functional for the work trucks and so on and so forth that'll be going into the development?
Contractually, we'll have Baker Construction, our contractor, they're still scheduled for an October completion date.
Okay, so basically the big work trucks would be going on that road in October is what we're saying.
They could be in there at the rough grade as early as September.
Okay, well, if we make this change, how much does that push it back for the big work trucks and so on and so forth?
Again, I think that's going to be again, these are estimates, a 30 to 45 day delay.
Okay.
So the big work trucks can still most likely get into Food City this fall, but it is going to push the final completion of the project into the spring
Okay.
most likely because of the final pavement.
I mean, I'm just
Once we get into
thinking-
November,
Right.
final pavement is hard to make
Right.
sure that you can get the quality asphalt.
Right.
So again, we could have the road at a usable standpoint, but not finalized. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I mean, I've thought a whole lot about this particular scenario, and I have some concerns with changing it, mostly because I think, in my opinion, what'll happen is the work trucks will have to come off of exit 19 and come all the way through town if that road's not functional when the complex is being developed. So I'm just concerned that 30, 45 days really could congest the whole other side of town with steel and concrete and so on and so forth. And then, in lieu of transparency, and I ran my campaign on transparency and open communication, I just want to understand that the general public understands kind of what a failure is with a traffic scenario like that. And to my understanding, and you can correct me, Wayne, if I'm wrong, because you're the expert, but the failure really was in the left turn lane coming down the hill from Kroger, swinging left into the development. And when it's a failure, that doesn't mean the whole road explodes. It just means that you may have to sit in the left turn lane more than one cycle. I mean, is that accurate? I mean, I'm just trying to make sure the general public understands what I'm understanding with regards to failure with
I would say to summarize, a failure of a roundabout is the traffic has overwhelmed the number of cars that can go through the roundabout, and so the queues in all the directions.
Okay, so you're saying all
back
okay.
up.
All
It
right.
is.
Okay, fair enough.
From memory, I can't remember which one was the worst.
I felt like it was the 575-foot lane left turn lane coming down the hill from Kroger, wasn't it? That was kind of your tipping point.
That's also a concern. Both are concerned. I think the long left turn lane eats up so much green time that it doesn't leave enough time for other functions or other phases of the light. So that is basically what causes the failure in the roundabout. Is that accurate, Matt?
Well, possibly, and I want to make sure I address your question clearly. You're speaking of traffic on Cumming Street coming down.
Yes.
This change doesn't affect that.
Okay.
This change doesn't solve that particular
No,
problem.
I know it doesn't solve that, but that was kind of part of the underlying theory behind it.
Right, that is part of the whole puzzle.
But we intend to, the council has defined a phase 2. We intend to widen Cumming Street and not to have a 575-foot left turn lane when the whole project, including the sports complex, is complete. Is that that's what we've talked about?
That has been talked about, and I think that's wise to wait and see.
Right, to see how.
That's that's outside the scope really of this Green Spring Road project right now.
Right.
And I think it'd be wise to wait and kind of see how that really does materialize when the sports complex is built.
I'm not understanding the trucks going into the.
Well, what I'm saying is like
the trucks going into the construction before the project's complete. Is that what you were talking about?
Yeah. Well, no. See, what I'm saying is like construction on the actual store itself, if I'm correct, could start in August. Accurate. The concrete could be poured for the footers and so on and so forth. And my concern is if that road isn't finished as quickly as possible for the trucks to get in, then they're going to have to come around from exit 19 and down the current.
The Green Spring Road is closed and the trucks are getting in there now.
Are they going to?
Yeah, they're doing that
So they're just going to open it up and let them in that way? Is that?
Again,
how do the trucks get into development now? The construction site. How do
at this point in construction, we can still open up the Cumming Street entrance.
Right.
But again, as the construction progresses, that's not always going to be available.
Right. So that was my concern.
So some of the Food City trucks may have to come from Mrs. Patterson's side of Green Springs Road and come that way.
Which is what they're doing now, with the great big rigs and all that.
I mean, it's that's kind of a floating scenario about how access off Cumming Street is. That's a daily question.
That's a construction issue. Okay.
Well, my concern, and I, like you all, you want to do what's best for the town. I get that.
Sure.
We don't want to hold up the development either. It's done. We're doing it, okay? But the thing is, we talk about money. We don't wanna cost the town any more money. However, if you wanna tear this up, because what happens, and Mr. Craig's pointed this out at meetings before, is you got this roundabout, and this is not gonna be beneficial later on in your project. Why do you want to put money into this when you're gonna have to take this out later down the road, interrupt traffic, inconvenience your customers at Food City and all the other places that are up there at the strip mall? At this time, do it the first time right, have all the traffic come in, have it built the proper way, because you're looking at probably what would you estimate it costing later on down the road, and we're gonna pick up the tab.
The
So-
construction wouldn't cost a tremendous amount, but the maintaining of the traffic while you're tearing, the construction, I don't think would be anything hugely significant, but the cost would be that the Food City development generates quite a bit of traffic, and maintaining the traffic while you're tearing out a roundabout and building a new intersection, I don't know how much that would cost, but my best guess, I would say you're looking at least $600,000 or $700,000.
So that would be 100% of the town's cost?
It,
at that time?
I doubt if VDOT would give us money to, but that's just speculation. I would say probably yes, Al.
Yeah, so you're looking at $62,500, but roughly about what our cost is gonna be versus that much money later on. So, I mean, get the cart built, get the horse together, hook up the reins to it, and then move forward with it all together. I think that's what we need to do. What that make sense? I hope that's layman's terms. It's farmer terms, but do it right the first time. What do you think?
Okay,
Even I
any
understand that, Cindy.
Okay.
Even I understand that.
Okay, good.
any more questions for Matt? Okay, do I hear a motion?
I'll make the motion to, give me the motion. You wanna give me the motion? I'm trying to think of the motion, just give me a second.
No matter what it is, please make sure that the town staff and the manager have the ability to negotiate and execute.
Next two, okay. Well, do you have a recommendation of a motion?
I'll entertain a motion that we change the design of the intersection of Cumming Street and Green Spring Road.
Cook Street Extension.
Cook Street Extension.
As Cumming Street and relocated Green Spring Road in accordance with either alternate A or alternate B. And authorize the town manager to proceed with the design and construction and sign any documents pertaining thereto. Is that motion all right for you, Dylan? Is that clear to you?
Well, you just said you'd entertain a motion,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
as
I
long
know,
as
but
someone else makes it.
okay, all right, I'll
Okay,
entertain a
I'll
motion.
make the motion then, and I'm sorry for being unprofessional, but that's quite a bit.
That's not unprofessional.
That's
I'll
quite a
second
bit.
that.
Does that give you all what you need to do? Okay, is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing no discussion, Kim, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Bradley?
Aye.
Ms. Quetch?
I respectfully vote no.
Mr. Webb?
I'm also going to respectfully vote no.
Ms. Patterson?
Aye.
And Mayor Craig?
Aye. Okay, the motion's passed. The next item on the agenda is appointments to boards and committees. Council, do you all want to do this in a closed session, or do you want to do it in open session? We normally do it in a closed session, but we can do it either way.
I'm okay with open.
You okay with open?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. How about the rest of you?
I'm okay with that.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, we're in open government, aren't we?
Yeah.
Yes, sir, we are.
All right. the first appointment is Economic Development Authority.
I have a nomination, if I may, Mayor Craig.
Okay, nominate.
I nominate Don Adams to fill that appointment on that committee.
Are there any other nominations?
I'll be glad to second Cindy's nomination.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we appoint Don Adams to the Economic Development Authority. Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, Kim, please call the roll.
Mr. Bradley?
Aye.
Ms. Quetch? Aye. Mr. Webb?
Aye.
Ms. Patterson?
Aye.
And Mayor Craig.
Aye. Okay, the next appointment is to fill the unexpired term of Chase Mitchell, who is unavailable to fulfill the term. Do we have any nominations?
Mayor, I would like to ask if we could table 2, 3, and 4 until the next, the next council meeting, if it's not going to interfere with appointments or any quorums or anything like that.
I don't think that it will affect any business that they intend to conduct. I think it's good that we appointed the Economic Development today because they didn't have a quorum. I guess you all were at that meeting. So that's probably all the business we need to do today. Do you want to put that in the form of a motion that you postpone?
Yes, sir, I will. I'd like to make a motion to postpone item number 2, Tourism Advisory Committee appointment. Number 3, Abingdon Housing and Redevelopment Authority appointment, and Sinking Springs, number 4, Sinking Springs Cemetery Committee appointment until the next regular council meeting.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second it.
Been moved and seconded to table or postpone the appointments to those committees.
And do we have any council member reports?
Oh, did I skip something? Let's go ahead and vote on this anyway.
Okay, sure.
Any other discussion? Kim,
Roll call.
please call the roll.
Mr. Bradley?
Aye.
Ms. Quetch? Aye. Mr. Webb?
Aye.
Ms. Patterson?
Aye.
And Mayor Craig.
All right, where did I skip council member reports?
Item L, I believe, sir.
Okay, do we have council member reports? Well, Mr. Bradley's, you want to report on this meeting?
Report on what?
You want to report on this meeting?
I've been to 100 meetings. Which
Donna, do you have anything to
one
report?
No, I don't have
I don't have any, just that I'm still doing what I'm doing.
Okay, maybe I need to make a brief report. At the last BVU meeting, the BVU and Sunset set a closing date, so that deal should go through, and I will joyfully be off of the BVU board. So, all right, council, there's no other business. This meeting's adjourned.
Thank you.